Happy Thursday, and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. We've got a great show here on tap, and as always, Husker Online Headlines brought to you by our friends at Zipline Beer. Get on out, pick up the new ZipLite beer. It just came out about a week ago. I've been told by many of our listeners it's a great beer. We've got some here as well. I'm going to pop one open tonight, I think, sip when I get back to the house. Try the new ZipLite beer, 95 calories, 2.7 carbs, great summer beer, great driveway beer, garage beer. Get it today at any Zipline location or grocery stores here around the state of Nebraska. But let's get right into it, guys. We've got a great show here on tap, and we're pleased to kick off headline number one with the head man himself, Nebraska head football coach Matt Rhule, joining us here on Husker Online Headlines. Coach, we just heard from you earlier today as we kind of put a wrap on this very, very busy month of June. The dead period's around the corner. What's that look like for you? Are you going to be able to catch your breath a little bit, or are you going to be knee deep in it still over the dead period?
No, I'll stay here in Lincoln, here in Waverly, man. But I'm gonna be around the office a little bit. I'll take maybe a couple days later in July, but I think it's really important that the players don't see me every day. They don't see the coaches. So to me, June, you're instructing the players, you're around them. June is crazy for recruiting and camps, but in July, then the team has to be turned over to the seniors, to the leaders, and so for me, it's that's the time to do that. So I'll be around. I'll get my work done. I work on a lot of like situational football and training camp stuff during that time because a lot of my job is not football. So July is a chance for me to really dive back into the football.
Interesting. Matt, June is, for those of us who are a certain age, June hasn't always been like it is now. What is the most challenging part of June for you, for the head coach and for the coaches in general, the most challenging aspects of June?
Sleeping. It's when I was in it, when I was in it, when I was the head coach at Temple and early at Baylor, you couldn't work with the players on the field. You couldn't have a ball out there. You couldn't meet. There was no recruiting back then. So, we'd have some camps and we would be game planning and getting ready for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's recruiting. You heard me say today, 4,300 kids come to our camps, 37 different states. That's a big deal. Having people in on official visits, which used to be in December, now they're in June, is a big deal. Being able to get out there with our guys, we call them OTAs, but just do some football specific training is really, conditioning is really good. So the rules have changed. I think the key is
mm-hmm.
You have to be great at recruiting and great at camps, but you cannot neglect your own team.
Right.
And so that's where the sleep comes in. I know a lot of people their coaches won't even work their camp. Well, we can't. But we also have to be great with our players because this is our chance to affect them in a positive way. And then we let the team run the team in July.
Okay. Joined here by the head coach, Matt Rhule, on Husker Online Headlines. Coach, last July or last fall camp, you had your teams move into the dorms. I assume that tradition's going to continue. What did you like about that? Any changes that you're going to make this year with the training camp as you kind of start to build for July 31st?
We'll move back into dorms. I think it's really important that we always recenter ourselves back on campus. We're fighting for this campus. I think it's really important that we recenter ourselves as a team. You guys are still going to be on their phones and things, but you're not home. You're not playing the video game, by yourself. I loved the interaction last year. It's last week was two weeks. Maybe this week is a little bit shorter. If I dare to, just because how the schedule falls. But I think it's a good thing, and it's a good thing that guys someday. I can tell you this 10 years from now they'll be talking about this happened in the dorm and that happened. So I think it's a good thing. The only main difference this year is that last year we practiced 2 practices a day early on, and we had the young guys practicing and then a developmental practice and the older guys practicing by themselves. And we won't do that this year. That developmental concept, we'll have 3 fields going, we'll do all that, but I want everyone out there at the same time. And I want everyone competing in front of each other. So that was kind of a year 1 thing. I loved doing it, but now I feel like we're in year 2, and we have to make year 2, year 3. And so we're going to advance the way we do things.
year two of camp. I mean, people forgive me, Matt. I lapse into beat writer mode sometimes. You have a quarterback competition. When would you like to see the competition settle? What would be the best period for that to be settled in your mind?
It's a great question. I don't know that I know that, honestly. I think the one thing that I've had outsiders come in and visit us and just watch us, they've said, man, you can see this in the picture that's on my screen. Your three quarterbacks really like each other. And so I think, if you have a bunch of guys who respect each other, the competition continues to bring out the best in everybody. That doesn't mean when you're having a competition, though, that you're not skewing the reps. Like if someone's going to go with the ones more than the threes. Someone's going to go with the twos more than threes. So that will happen. But I'd obviously like it before game week. That's what I don't want to do is name someone the starter and all of a sudden have second thoughts a couple of weeks later. It's like I tell guys in recruiting, take all your visits if you have to, because when you commit to us, we want you here for 4 years, not just 4 weeks. So it's the same thing with this. We'll let them play it out and let them show off all the work they did this summer and see where we are.
So it could go to game week.
Yeah, and there's a gamesmanship probably to be the head coach where maybe you it 2 weeks in, but you're not letting the opponent know. I don't know in this year because it's a new staff at UTEP, and so you're watching what they did previously, but I don't know that we know what they're doing. So it's maybe not as much of a benefit. I don't know yet. I really kind of haven't ever said to myself I want to have it done by this date.
Okay.
I want the guys to get better. I'm hoping they all push each other.
Coach, the interior of your offensive line is another area where I think you've got a lot of options. Have you kind of with Mazuka coming in and the players that played a year ago, how have you kind of put that together, that puzzle together of what that interior of your line is going to look like? It seems like your tackles feel settled at this point with Benhart and Prohaska out there. But what about that interior portion?
I think it's really the same kind of even at the tackle, but the same at guards. I mean, you want to go into a season where you feel like you have at least 7. You prefer to have 8. 8's kind of always the number. When you have 8 guys you feel good about playing. The best teams I've been on, we've rotated guys in even on the O-line. Like when you can do that, man, you're really a good team. So I think we have 8, 9, 10 guys that are ready to play. I feel great about it. And I think a big piece of this is, O-linemen get banged up. They get hurt, they get beat up, and so you might think you have it settled, and all of a sudden, one ankle sprain away, and now you have a backup in. So that's why we practice 3 groups the way that we do. That's why we walk through and summer we give everyone reps so that we're building that depth. We're building the next offensive line this year for next year. It's all kind of thought process together. But with Turner coming back, we have a lot of guys who played a lot of football, and I expect them to have some good battles. And again, competition can be friendly. It brings out the best in you, and our guys like to compete.
Turner Corcoran, you told the media corps today that he's one of the players that'll be back full go. Deshaun Singleton and Gabe Irvin were the others. As far as Turner Corcoran goes, is he guard or attack? Where does he play? Where would you start him off at?
Yeah, he'll be out of tackle.
Okay.
And Turner can play, but he can also play guard. We obviously had Justin started a bunch of games there at left guard last year, and we started games. You mentioned Micah coming in. We have a bunch of other really good guards. But Turner can play guard. He can play, he can play tackle. I'm sure he can even go in and play center. He's a very versatile player for us.
Okay, Coach, you guys have looked at some other quarterback options. I mean, how realistic is it that you could add another quarterback from now until camp? I know the postgraduate and other things have got a lot of things moving there. Is it realistic that you could still add one more QB to this roster right now?
Yeah, well, Jalyn's here. Jalyn's in the mix, and he's just started, I think, today. Working out for us. So
and that's Gramstad.
Yeah, I think that's the extent of it. So obviously between we brought in obviously the 3 scholarship guys. We've had Luke Longville. We brought in Bodie Suka and who I loved last year at camp. And then you guys said, hey, text that out, tweet that.
No,
the news out about Jalyn. I love it. But yeah, so Jalyn's here, and so anytime you have a guy with that, that experience, I don't know a ton about him yet in terms of, where he would fit and all that, but we're kind of working on all those guys.
Yeah, those postgraduate camps, you never know who's going to show up. And here, the NAIA Player of the Year that played in 2 straight national title games. I don't think anybody really knew he was going to be there. What have you learned about him? I mean, what kind of tape did you guys get to watch on him after you kind of figured out that this guy's got a pretty good career that he's put up at Northwestern, and he grew up a Husker fan?
Well, first of all, kudos. I mean, really, and I think it speaks a lot to him, but the people at, Northwestern, they bent over backwards to help him. And they could have said, hey, we want to keep you here, and so we're going to keep you here. But I respect Jalyn. He's got a great thing there. He wants to come. He wants to be a Husker. I respect the people there, and they could have made it hard for him, but they made it easy for him to care about him. So had a chance to watch his film. Obviously, he's a dual threat guy. He played safety for them. He can help in a lot of different ways. And so, he's coming in. The other guys have been in the system for a while, but again, he's a football player, and excited to give him an opportunity.
Did it require a certain type of guy for you to put into this situation? Why? I guess what I'm getting is, why does Jalyn fit right now?
Well, at the end of the day, if you get down, let's just say right now he comes in, let's say he is the 4th quarterback. I don't know where they'll end up, but
right.
You get down to the 4th quarterback, if you can have a guy that's won big games. I think sometimes we put too much in. Winners are winners. I remember when I was at Temple, and I would always tell our AD, I'd rather play a Power 5 team who loses, who has a history of losing, than play an FCS team who wins all the time. Winners win. Winners, they go into the game, they expect to win. When something goes wrong, they laugh at it. It gets them mad. They come back, they play better. And when the game gets close, they go out and they win. We're trying to instill that mindset here, right? Mm-hmm. That's why, I don't like, it was close losses. No, let's talk about the close wins that are coming. This is a guy, he's a winner. And so I think the more winners you put around you, they practice that way, they walk through that way, they act that way in the locker room. They're not a victim. They're not weak-minded. They're tough-minded. And when the day comes that we turn to Jalyn and say, hey, go win the game for us, he's going to expect to win. And that's infectious.
Okay.
So, the thought is he could be here 2 years, though, because he's not redshirted, right? Is there a chance that you'd get him here and he's got 4 games plus a season?
Yeah, he's got the potential for that. So I think, he's going to have to make a lot of decisions in his life, what he wants to do. I know he wants to coach when he's done. If you want to be a coach, there's not many guys. I don't say I'm not the greatest head coach in the country, but I do take care of my own. And I do keep the guys who played for me around. So if you want to be a coach, it's a good place to start.
Matt, you mentioned at the press conference today, 2 players from the post-grad camp will be joining the roster. Can you say who the second one is?
The other one's not done yet, so he's so I have to wait on that one.
That's fine. Just thought I'd ask.
We had another young man that came in that we gave an opportunity to join the team.
Okay. We're shaking you down here, Coach. We appreciate
the shakedown.
As we wrap it up here with Coach Rhule, final recruiting weekend for you. How much pressure is there just building these final weekends in June, knowing that it's your last swing at getting official visitors on campus, really until September, maybe or in October, in a lot of cases, and very few kids are available by that point?
Yeah, you think about recruiting moving forward. There's no more December contacts. You can't go out in December anymore. So you can go out a little bit in the season and get some evaluation days, but really for me as a head coach, if I don't see them in January, I never get to see them again. It's gotten really difficult. Last year, I was out in December seeing all the guys and making sure they signed with us, and there's no more of that anymore. So these visits are important. Getting guys to come back in the season are important. We talked about it today. I don't know what the roster numbers are doing. I don't know if all of a sudden they give me a hard cap of 85. I have to be careful about how many guys I commit to right now. I'm hoping that by September I know. So we don't need to go commit a bunch of guys and all of a sudden be sitting there in September and having to walk back on people saying, hey, we can't take you now. It's a really hard place to be. I can't answer anything about revenue sharing. I don't know how much money's in the revenue sharing pot. I don't know. There's so many questions right now. And if I talked to Amy Williams the other day. My daughter's at her camp, and Amy's such a wonderful person. Okay, she's such a great, great person. We were talking about kind of this world now, not wanting to make promises to players. but other schools are, and they're saying whatever because they know it's all going to get wiped away here soon. Like, yeah, we'll give you 2 boats in a house because in 6 months they might say, oh, there's none of that anymore. Sorry, our bad. And just wanting to do things the ethical way, the right way, like Amy does. So I don't want to commit too many people. And all of a sudden, hey, there's a hard cap of 85 and that's it. And there's no more walk-ons. It's a really slippery slope right now that we're trying to deal with.
This roster limit rule, like who is driving this? Why are we in a position that we're trying to take away opportunities from I just don't understand like the notion that teams everywhere are going to have to make massive cuts and take away opportunities. And what is the driving force behind this?
So really, the really originally roster limits were school by school based upon Title IX, as you were proportionate of female enrollment, male enrollment, and then having men's and women's sports match, right? And so when I got here, there was like 160 guys in the roster, and Trev was like, hey, we need to get down to like 115. We've been slowly working our way down. The hard part here in the state of Nebraska is there's guys here that'll turn down a scholarship at a group of 5 school to come here. And, so we love having all these guys. Like, what an amazing culture to have all these guys on our team. This new roster limit thing is not related to Title IX now. Obviously, this is related to the roster. I don't know why that's coming out of, and that's coming out of that side, I believe. That's coming out of the plaintiff side. At the same time, there's a bunch of schools that are going to struggle to get this $21 million to pay the student athletes. And now, if you say you have 120 scholarship players, well, 115, they don't have the money to add scholarships, and then add scholarships then on the women's side to stay in proportionality. So I think it came from the plaintiff side. There's a big financial repercussion as well. My thing has been, we're going to need people to practice at this. We're going to, I mean, just imagine like the movie Rudy wouldn't even exist anymore moving forward. I mean, it's part of what's amazing about football. And so, I don't know. I'm anxious to see how it ends up. I'm pretty vocal. Like when we go to Big Ten meetings, I'm pretty vocal about some of these subjects because I think there's unintended consequences of everything. We passed some of these laws to make them student athlete friendly, but you're going to see a bunch of schools drop sports. I bet you're going to see people lose their opportunities to walk on. So it will benefit some student athletes, but it won't benefit the vast majority of them who no longer have an opportunity to play.
Quick follow up, Matt. So Trev Alberts wanted to pare the roster down to 115. How does Troy Gannon approach this, the new AD?
Yeah, so Troy's been, it wasn't Trev wanting to pare. I want to make sure it was just sort of that was what kind of the Title IX number hit us at, right? Like,
sure.
Hey, and so I understood that. I was all on board. Hey, I'll get to 115 if that's what we need. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah,
I think it's unique to the state of Nebraska. The interest in guys joining the team, understanding that hey, I have a long road to hoe here to get on the field, but I'm here because I love the Cornhuskers. Troy's been, sort of like, hey, Matt, I'll take the lead on it. And I've been trying to approach it in a different way. Like, hey, maybe if some of these guys graduate, we're moving them on. But, I don't really want to go to 20 guys and say, thanks for everything the last 2 years, but we've done. Not my way. And I also don't want to miss out on some opportunities to bring guys in. We brought some guys in as non-scholarship players, as walk-ons this just right now, even in the summer, that I know are going to play something. So, just when you want to figure out how to win at a place like Nebraska, look back at the past, see what they did. And part of that was having a big roster to practice against, and part of that was giving kids an opportunity to walk on and prove themselves.
Well, Coach, we appreciate everything, the time, and hopefully you'll catch your breath a little bit before we get back going again. But thank you again, Coach, for your time here on HuskerOnline Headlines.
I appreciate you guys for covering all the camps and going to all the camps. Because I think a couple of times I was talking to you, Sean, and kids would come up and they'd say, "I'm sorry, Mr. Rhule, could you take a picture of me and Mr. Callahan?" So I know how many people watch this, and they should, and the way you guys. So thank you for covering the camps. It makes more people want to come to the camps and continues to build the Husker name. So thank you guys.
We just got to get Sipple to bring his luggage and not forget his luggage on this next round.
I'll tell you what, that's a heck of a shirt right there, bro.
Target. $13, Coach. $13. I saw it.
Everything I wear is free, just for the record, so I can't say anything. $13 more than I spent on this outfit.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate this.
Thanks again to Coach Matt Rhule for joining us here on HuskerOnline Headlines. Before we get into that, HuskerOnline Headlines again brought to you by Zipline Beer, also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. 4th of July right around the corner. Omaha Steaks has a great special right now. Not only are they doing 50% off site wide, we're going to give you an extra $30 off from Husker Online with the promo code Husker Online. Get on there, check out all the great packages. They deliver it right to your house in a cooler, put it right in your freezer. 50% off right now. Plus, we're going to give you another $30 off with that promo code Husker Online. So get on to omahasteaks.com. Check it out. Get stocked up here for the upcoming 4th of July holiday and use that promo code Husker Online to get that $30 off. But wow, where do we start?
Well, we start with the breaking news.
And Jalyn Gramstad, for the record, has now publicly announced his commitment to Nebraska. If Megan can pull up the tweet on that, so I'm sitting here like, we got some scoop. Yeah. But Jalyn Gramstad has now announced it publicly that he is coming to Nebraska. And, I think this has been done for over close to a week. There were some final things that had to get ironed out. And the biggest thing is he needed 3 credit hours to finish at Northwestern in Iowa. In an NAIA private school, and to transfer to Nebraska, it would be a much cleaner transfer if he had his degree done. So I don't know how they ironed that out, but they did. And this is a guy that wants to be a Husker. He wants to be here. Grew up a Husker fan. Was in the COVID era of recruiting, so never even got to compete at a camp at Nebraska, but was a state champion, won a national title. Was a national runner-up, national player of the year, and now he's going to come into your room as a veteran quarterback mind.
Right, and this is and Sean, you've talked to him a lot, Jalyn a lot. This is the only school he would go to, right?
Correct. Jalyn said he's like, it's Nebraska or go back to Northwestern, right. And this was his dream. I mean, this is a kid that grew up. Almost it's in Iowa, but it was near Sioux Falls, the far northwest corner of Iowa. So his whole family's Husker fans, and you might remember the Ducker family, the brothers that went to Bellevue West.
Yes, of course.
Javon Ducker.
Back, yeah.
So Javon Ducker is his first cousin.
Okay.
And his mom, Javon Ducker's mom, is Jalyn Gramstad's the brother and sister. So they're, in fact, so his cousin played with Daniel Caitlin at Bellevue West.
Okay.
So, this is a guy, he's very familiar with it. And the story, it's really like a movie. This is a guy that just showed up to Nebraska's camp.
Post-grad camp.
He worked a shift at a golf course.
Then
he drove down.
Didn't tell the Northwestern coach.
No, didn't even kind of prep and nobody even knew. Like, I'll never forget Jeff Jamrog, the Midland head coach's face when he saw the NAIA National Player of the Year.
What was the face like?
Just like that. Gramstad. He like couldn't believe that Gramstad was working out at Nebraska.
It is a fascinating story. Gramstad fits the Nebraska profile in a myriad ways. One is that Matt Rhule mentioned this. If you go try to find film of him, you will find film of him playing safety at Northwestern in his first year there, and he's a good safety. He's an excellent safety. He's very athletic. There's highlights of him tackling guys in the box. He's a good football player. That's what you'll notice right away. Then when he went to Northwestern, Sean, they had an All-American quarterback, and there was kind of an agreement with the head coach. Hey, I get it. You have an All-American quarterback now. When he moves on, I want to play quarterback. Boom. He moves into the quarterback spot.
Wins a national title.
I think national runner-up too, as well, and then wins basically the Heisman Trophy of that classification. So he's good. The thing that I want to emphasize is I watched the film. He's pretty good. He can play. He can run. He's a good runner, but he can run this offense as a thrower. And the Nebraska coaches probably had to see that on film, and they saw it.
He would have been good enough to help Nebraska last year, especially if the quarterback. The quarterback play and the issues they dealt with were as rough as we've ever seen at Nebraska.
Well, 52% completion percentage, 10 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions. Seldom do you see that ratio. Jameis Winston, maybe, but
Gramstad led NAIA in passing. I
love Jameis Winston, by the way. I hate to even say that, but I love him. He's a Seminole. But go ahead.
Gramstad led NAIA in passing last year. He only threw 8 interceptions in 15 games.
See, there you go.
So he's less than a pick a game.
So yeah, you don't know where he's going to be on the depth chart. It's great for him that it's only June 20th, because he can, I imagine, come in and start assimilating with the team, start learning the offense, and maybe basically hit the ground running on July 31st when Nebraska starts camp. He'll want to come in and compete. I don't think he will come in with the posture of, oh, they got their guys, I'm just here in case. I don't think he's cut out that way. My guess is he will come in and say, no, I want to move up the depth chart as fast as I can.
Well, he's a 3-time captain of a national championship program.
Right. There's no guarantees. I'm not saying he will move up the depth chart. I'm not. I don't know. He's got to operate from behind, especially when it comes to Harburg. Harburg knows the offense much better.
What's interesting, if he would have entered, there's no portal for NAIA guys, but if he would have went on the market as a free agent publicly, he would have had a lot of interest. I mean,
I think so. You saw him work out
from the group of 5 for sure. I mean, like, there's a lot of group of 5 programs who have been poached badly.
You saw him work out yourself. You went to all the camps. God bless you. You watched him work out. What did you think?
Well, his arm jumps right away.
Does it really?
He's not, I mean, he's like a Todd Reesing type.
6 foot.
Yeah, he's not big, but his footwork and the way the ball gets out, and he can run. I mean,
he can run.
In a national championship game, he threw for like 300 and ran for 100. He had over 400 yards in a national championship game they won, and then the next year they got beat. So I mean, look, you could say what you want, NAIA football, but how many of Nebraska's quarterbacks a year ago would win a National Player of the Year at NAIA? I don't think any.
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question.
We saw some of the worst turnover numbers we've ever seen. So this is a positive, and you're getting him as a walk-on, and clearly a guy that wants to get into coaching.
There's some news, interesting news. I thought the Corcoran's
back.
Turner Corcoran's back. Matt Rhule's, I really appreciate how definitive he is. I mean, we learned quite a bit about roster today. Corcoran is back, full go for camp. Deshaun Singleton back, full go for camp. Gabe Irvin back, full go for camp. Corcoran will start out as a tackle. That's informative. They need tackle depth. I mean, that's why I asked it. They don't have a ton of tackle depth. Okay, so there's the possibility of some decent tackle depth there. He also was very definitive in the press conference today, aside from our video, of Jaden Doss as a corner. I mean, he answered it definitively. Garrett McGuire during the Houston camp said he'd be playing both during the summer, and then they decide. Today, Matt Rhule said corner. Jaden Doss is a corner. He's got great change of direction, great ball skills, weighs 200 pounds. He's going to be a defender. It's an interesting move. You know how I felt about him as a receiver. I really liked him. I mean, I really thought he could be a guy that would move. But Matt Rhule also said today that he feels like that wide receiver room could be 9-10 players deep. So you can afford to move Doss.
Yeah, it's interesting, just the flexibility with players. I mean, we were even seeing with David Hoofkin. I mean,
yeah, flexible.
10 days ago, he told us directly to our face, O-line, and now he's going to be a D lineman. So that's Matt Rhule and how they operate.
So true.
They move guys.
They want football players. That's why that Gramstad film is informative to me, because you'll see it and you'll see him playing safety, but now he's a quarterback. Headline 3.
And the fact that he can go 2 years, the fact that he can play 2 years here is a benefit.
Yes,
too. But okay, before we take it to headline number 3, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by Mando. Check out Mando. You know, it's that time of year. I mean, we were in a press conference room today that didn't have a lot of air conditioning. I could have used a little Mando in there today, Steve Sipple. It was a challenge.
You know what? My temperature gauge isn't great. I didn't even notice it. But yeah, you can always use some Mando in the summer. It's hotter than hell out.
Prevents sweat, 100% natural, organic, fragrance, oil-free. It's dermatologist recommended. And we got a great special for our HuskerOnline listeners and viewers. Get the Mando starter pack for new customers. It comes with a stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And we got a discount code. Simply use the discount code Husker at shopmando.com. And we're going to give you $5 off, which equates to over 40% off the starter pack. That's promo code Husker at shopmando.com to get hooked up with that Mando starter pack. And you could have used a little Mando today, Steve Sipple.
Yeah, you don't want to smell bad. Nobody wants to be around a dude who smells bad, where you have to take a couple steps to the side because that guy doesn't smell good. You don't want that. Go.
All right, back to Husker Headlines, also brought to you by Zipline Beer. Try that ZipLite, great new product of the summer. But let's get into 2024, or headline 3, because Nebraska is continuing to add to this 2024 roster. We just learned one today, Jalyn Gramstad from Matt Rhule. But another big one coming in now this weekend. We talked about David Hoofkin, but Sierra Wright on campus as we speak. He's a defensive back at a USC. He started 11 games. He's played 23. He's got 2 years to play 2 on the eligibility wise. So that's a significant news. And then Makai Nelson, who is technically listed as a 25 recruit, but can reclassify back to 2024. He too is on campus as we speak for an official visit as a running back, Steve Sipple. It'd be a true freshman running back addition. But I want to specifically get to Sierra Wright, because this one is fascinating. It tells you that, with the movement we've seen at corner, with Jaden Doss making that move now permanently to corner, with the questions about Bly Hill, that they clearly are looking for a quality corner still.
Yeah. Now, yes, I do think they feel okay if they had to go into the season with Jeremiah Charles, who's a redshirt freshman, or Malcolm Hartzog. But
options.
Yeah, thank you. Options. And why not take an option that's who's played? Jeremiah Charles would be, if he won the job, he'd be stepping out on the field as a starter at the college level for the first time. As you noted, and you're calling him Sierra. Is it Sierra Wright? Sierra Wright?
Yeah, just go with Wright. I don't.
With this gentleman that's visiting from USC, he's a seasoned starter. And by the way, as a high schooler, was the number 5 ranked player in the state of California. Not a small designation. So, yeah, this was a surprise. You found out about it yesterday, broke the story. Pretty amazing. And let's face it. I mean, if I just take a step back, which we all have to do sometimes, by the way, Sean, you got to take a step back. You're always revved up. You're so revved up. Sometimes you got to kind of relax, take a step back. When people ask me, Sip, I really like this team, but give me some reasons for concern. If I gave 5, one of them would be that corner spot opposite Tommy Hill isn't decided. Well, if Sierra Wright would come to Nebraska, establish himself in the month of July and August, I'd feel a lot better. That would be one box I would check off that say, that was my only real concern on defense.
And his recruiting has been a mystery because, first of all, him going to the transfer portal at the end of April was a surprise. Southern Cal was not expecting that.
April 26th.
So he goes in the portal, and then from there, no one has known his next move. Some people are like, oh, he's an actor as well. He was in the movie Space Jam 2, and he's been on a lot of commercials and TV shows. So an extremely talented young man. That's, and Lincoln Riley compared him as an actor. It's like it's almost like a dual sport athlete, a guy that plays baseball and football. He has to balance that acting career with his football career. And he did a really good job of doing that. But he stepped away from the Trojans, and that was a surprise. And I like the fact Nebraska's getting him here right before the dead period, because that tells me maybe things could be far down the road.
Okay. Yeah. So he'll visit the NIL office and see if that all works out. But again, Matt Rhule's not handing him a job, but he would automatically be someone you'd consider for that other corner job. So it's really significant news, And you know what? The guys you're talking about, Jeremiah Charles, Malcolm Hartzog, and then probably Boodle's in that conversation too. Is there anybody else you'd put in that conversation? Dwight Boodle III.
Yeah, there's some other corners that they brought in, but Marquise Buford's played corner. I don't see him as a corner right now, though.
Right, I don't either. Well, I don't think you have to. I said Boodle the third. Is it the third or is he the second? I don't like to botch things like that.
To-
Don't worry.
Don't
about
put me on the spot.
it. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, I'm going down the defensive back depth chart here, and you look at Ethan Nation's gone, as we know. So they're pretty limited, especially with the Blah Hill injury. Jeremiah Charles, Dwight Boodle the second.
Thank you. Rescued me. Thank you, Sean.
You know, like Bryce Turner, we just haven't heard much on as a corner.
No, you haven't.
You don't hear a lot about Sierson Seifiala.
No, you don't.
DeAndre Barnes.
Not yet. Don't hear much.
I mean, he was developmental take.
Right.
Wasn't.
Yeah, right.
And then, you know, of the freshmen, Mario Buford came in early. That's a guy to watch, highly recruited as an early enrollee. So he at least is further down the line. But a lot of the guys they took in that recruiting class, a lot of safety type bodies.
Right.
I mean, Caleb Benning, safety. Roger Gradney, safety. Rex Guthrie, safety. Donovan Jones, safety or corner. Kamir Prescott, it's probably a safety. Braylon Prude, for sure, a safety. I mean, you go down the list. Amari Sanders, probably a corner. You know, Evan Taylor is injured right now. Larry Tarver's a corner. But they don't have a lot of like surefire corners.
No, and I want to be very clear on something though, Sean. When we first interviewed Matt Rhule after spring ball, it was at the camp in Omaha. So that would have been, was that in May, as early May? And Rhule, just to be clear on this, I asked him, who are the candidates opposite Hill with Blight Hill out? And the first guys he mentioned were Jeremiah Charles and Hartzog. So those are your guys. I don't want to make this, I don't want to muddy up the conversation.
You don't want to overcomplicate it.
Right. No, it's, and then I suggested Boodle might be in there too. And he said, yeah, Boodle too. So those would be the main guys.
Let's just call this what it is. I mean, if Wright comes to Nebraska, he's got an excellent opportunity to win the job.
I would put him as the clubhouse favorite,
especially with the Bly Hill situation and the just the unknowns. And look, Bly Hill hasn't played that much football.
No, he hasn't.
I mean, you can like him as a player and a prospect, but how much football has he played? I mean, right. he played at an NAIA school and he didn't put up huge production his first year there.
Right. Then he came to Lincoln and basically won the starting cornerback job. So yeah, this is we'll see what happens. I mean, they don't have Sierra Wright on the roster yet, so we don't know what's going to happen. As far as the other visitors go, there's going to be what we're reporting right now, 11 visitors this weekend.
Yeah,
I'd say Chase Lofton's the next one that I would say is the big one. Chase Lofton, the Millard South tight end, and he is a beauty, Sean. I watched that film. We didn't talk about much the other day, but he's interesting to me because he's a tight end by designation, but you notice Millard South would line him up wide on a small corner or any corner and just run a go route and throw it up to him. He can run.
How many high school football teams in America have two major Power 5 tight ends?
Chase Lofton and
Isaac Jensen.
Wow.
And then they have Amarian Jackson.
Yeah, that's an embarrassment of riches for that offense.
Jet Tamala.
Yeah.
Landon Von Segren, who's been offered by several Power 5s on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supposedly getting maybe Deshaun Prince transferring there.
Oh, I'm being facetious. That's a great haul of talent for a high school team.
Ty Wisdom's going to win a lot of games. I'm guessing there's not going to be a lot of coaches in the Metro. I mean, just the amount of talent coming there. Like, right. They're going to, Westside's not giving up though. Westside's building a good run. Westside got Maurice Purified's kid to transfer there.
Ty Wisdom has some serious pieces on offense to work with. I would start the conversation with Lofton, who's also looking at Texas A&M, Florida State, and Missouri. All, as I say, every single time, all prominent NIL operations. Don't know if that's coincidence or not. Kudos to the young man if it's not. Nebraska,
he's going to have a big offer wherever he goes.
Nebraska's got a formidable NIL operation. He's a formidable player. Just beautiful on film. I mean,
another guy in there, Will Hawthorne is coming.
Will Hawthorne.
That's an intriguing one.
Gilbert, Iowa.
Because it kind of goes hand in hand with the Dawson Merritt discussion and the Christian Jones discussion.
Yeah.
Because those are two 4-stars Nebraska has brought in and in on. I like where it's trending with Merritt. I don't have a great feel or read right now with Jones because he's visiting Oklahoma this weekend. And he has said that he might extend it into the season. I could see it working out with Nebraska and Will Hawthorne. Now, Iowa State, though, he lives basically in Ames. Like
Yeah.
Gilbert is Ames.
Yeah.
So Nebraska's got to fight essentially the home state school off, but I know he really likes the Big Ten. That's another guy. A lot of commits are visiting this weekend. I mean, there's five of the 11 are already committed to Nebraska.
Right. So Will Hawthorne camped here too. So he got familiar with the scene, and he'll get more familiar with it this weekend. And they have told him he could play inside or outside, 6'2", 220. Yeah, there is a lot of guys that have already committed: Jackson Carpenter, Tanner Turch, Caden Vermoss. Now they are bringing in, and I love this. Last year, Nebraska landed the number 1 player in Hawaii, Preston Taumua. And we saw him in Hawaii, and he's a forceful interior offensive lineman. Now they're going after Houston
Kahani Torres.
Yeah, who also
from St. Louis, Dominic's high school.
He's from St. Louis. He's the number 1 player in Hawaii. I love the thought of Nebraska in back-to-back classes getting the top-rated player from Hawaii. So we'll see what the big man does, but these are the type of guys you need in the Big Ten. Big, tough interior linemen.
Yeah, it's good. It's a big weekend because it shuts down. I mean, this is basically it. Now there's one weekend in late July that you can have unofficial visitors come by campus, but not officials.
Late July, right before camp.
Yeah, there's like a 7-day period, and some schools will run another camp on those days.
Is that right? Right before their camp starts.
Yeah, just to see if they can get it. But I don't like that approach. I think, a lot of kids don't want to camp that close to the start of their season. It's more, you kind of throw like the Big Red Barbecue event, and you bring all your commits in and you hang out with them before the camp starts. Something like they'll do something like that, but the coaches can't go out on the road again until their bye weeks. So they're limited. I mean, there's so much pressure on these June weekends to close the deal.
Yeah, this is big. And there's some, as we covered, there's some critical players that we discussed. And I'd say I'm most intrigued by Chase Lofton of the high school ones. I mean, he'd be good. He's a good one to get.
In that tight end room. But all right, before we take it to headline number 5, if you're not a member of HuskerOnline.com, we got a great special right now for our YouTube and podcast listeners. We're going to give you how many months for $1, Sip?
I think you're giving 2.
2 months for $1. The promo code NU1. Take advantage of that. 2 months for $1. Promo code NU1. It's the best deal you're going to find. And it's only for our podcast and YouTube listeners.
Is that it?
Don't tell anybody.
I won't.
Okay. All right. Headline number 5. June signing day has officially been tabled. And, I wanted to get to this with Coach Rhule, but we shook him down so much. I didn't want to go any further.
And there was a shakedown.
But there's no signing day. And this had been talked about for a while now. Could we have 3 signing days? They've already moved the December one up 2 weeks. There's going to be no more coaches on the road now in December. So December becomes portal focus, playoff focus, bowl game focus.
So let's be clear, when is the December signing day now?
So right now it was the 3rd Wednesday. It's now the 1st Wednesday.
It's the 1st Wednesday. Okay.
Of December.
Okay.
The Wednesday of conference championship games is, I believe, when they'll play the signing day. So then the playoff and the bowl games can be focused on properly versus having your coaches go out on the road and manage bowl practices.
Hard.
The whole model never made sense. But there was a thought, hey, let's have a June signing day. Like everything slows down, kids commit. Yeah. Let's have kids sign on the last Wednesday in June or whatever it was going to be. And there was some momentum, but it did not get enough momentum from the commissioners of the conferences in college football to go to a vote. So it's been tabled, and I'm okay with this.
Why are you okay with it?
Because here's my thing. A lot of guys, you're going to sign football players before they even play a down of football as seniors.
Right. That makes me uncomfortable.
And in the world that we're in right now, what's it driven by? NIL. And you're what's to stop a kid that signs a letter in June that's got a huge NIL payment coming his way, that's got a guaranteed spot at a school.
Oh, I see where you're going.
And just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to opt out.
Opt out of his senior year of high school.
I'm going to train and lift and get, but nothing can stop that. And if you're a 4 or 5 star, Nebraska's going to well, if you quit your senior year, we're going to cut you loose. They're not going to do that. they're going to still want you because you're a good player.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think
can't
the
really do
June
that,
signing day,
wow, I never thought of it from that perspective.
but that would happen.
Yeah.
And or you would see more guys tap out. Like,
or just maybe lose some steam at the very least, right? Just not have a great senior year. And why does it matter?
And then I feel like the school has less leverage too. Like, what if the guy gains 40 pounds?
Right.
What if the guy
that's what I'm saying.
Commits a crime? I mean,
or just isn't very isn't very engaged.
Or isn't as good as you think.
That too. Yeah. I'm with you. And in the context of what we just heard from Matt Rhule about June, that would just be one more big thing in June that would kind of test the coaches, right? I mean, test their stamina. That's one more huge thing. June has become packed now. Wouldn't that just kind of add another layer to it, Sean?
Well, and no question. And I look at kids in high school, and you develop so much mentally and physically from your junior to your senior year.
Absolutely.
And you see people change like a lot in that portion of time.
For the better.
You grow up, your body changes, you get more mature, and you're basically going to cut that part of the evaluation out of it.
In some cases you might.
Well, if everybody signs in June,
you're right. I mean, that's very odd to me. It is. It's very odd.
And you can have this fantasy that teams would still hold spots for December. They would, but there would be a lot of pressure to sign in June.
A lot of pressure. Yeah. I think I'm with you on this. Keep it off the table. It's tabled. Keep it off the table.
Well, there's some thought that, early, I mean,
what's the good part of it?
Well, the good part is for the coaches, they don't have to be on the road for 3 straight weeks in December, 2 straight weeks in December, and in-home visit every prospect. That's the one thing that's gone. In-home visits are basically done.
It's it's passe. Those stories that
winning in the living room.
Yeah. Those stories you hear of coaches that did just incredible work in living rooms with moms and dads. And, there's all kinds of stories you hear. That's passe.
I mean, one thing I think you could do is early enrollees, they're basically signed. They sign in December, but everybody else maybe waits till February and do it the old school way. But early enrollees always were going to be done in December because they get to your school in January. But yeah, there's a lot there. But the June thing is not happening. And I think that's good.
Okay. Tabled
for now. And I just don't know what you do though, because the transfer portal is not going away. NIL is not going away. Roster limits, that discussion's ongoing. I mean, I just think there's so many unknowns right now just to lock yourself into a third signing day.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm glad that it's done. We don't have to deal with it anymore. Don't have to conversate about it. There was a lot today though. Boy, what a show. God,
all right.
June is something else. I don't know if July we're going to have this much to talk about, but right now we have plenty.
I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting today. What a day. A lot of interesting news came out of today.
It's this time of year. I mean, people are like, it's busy. I mean, I went out to Woods Tennis Park to watch my daughter, and I had a laptop at a picnic table, worked the whole time. I mean, that's just the time of year it is right now.
I think July won't be quite like that.
Probably not.
We'll
still do shows.
Yeah, there's always something though. And then July 31st, camp starts, and bam, we're rolling. We are rolling.
Indianapolis, here
we come. That's July 24th.
The season kicks off officially at El Toro Mexican Restaurant on July 23rd.
Yeah, the night of July 23rd should be a big night for us.
That's the El Toro Sipple night.
The smoking margarita, pineapple, and a mezcal. It's a mezcal. It's a mezcal pineapple margarita. And
you get a burrito. You're a chicken burrito.
Chicken burritos are really good there. It's not a sports bar in any sense of the word.
I'm fajitas at all Mexican restaurants.
The fajitas there are excellent. I've ate off your plate. That's when it kicks off at El Toro, probably on a steamy Indianapolis night. Wear short pants. And have your Mando available.
The beauty about fajitas when you order at a Mexican restaurant, it could feed 8 people.
It sure could.
They come out with that it's there's no way one person could eat all this. They come out with this, just like kitchen. They put like a kitchen on your table.
It's embarrassing.
They're like, oh, here are all your tortillas. Here are all your condiments. And here's like this steaming pan of meat.
Can I just do something right now?
Sorry.
To get it out of the way. I'm going to have 2 margaritas, and I don't want a lot of commentary on it. There was some commentary the last time.
By us?
Yeah. I mean, really going to have a second? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's the start of the football season. I'm
Well,
celebrating.
All right. Well,
2
thanks
margaritas.
again to the head man himself, Matt Rhule, for joining us. Again, Husker Online Headlines brought to you by Zipline Beer. Get on out. Get the ZipLite. It is unbelievably good beer. It just hit. It's going to be a new permanent fixture to the Zipline beer. 95 calories, 2.7 carbs. It is the perfect summer beer for your tailgate party, your picnic, when you're mowing, when you want to go over and have a garage beer, a Sip and Greg.
Yeah. Missing tooth Greg.
We're going to make Greg a fixture on this
He
show.
is my fleet manager. So, yeah, he deserves any publicity he gets.
He takes care of you. I take care of you, and Greg takes care of you.
Yeah,
But
you take care of my clothing. He takes care of my vehicles
and your food.
and some of my food.
All right. Thanks again to Matt Rhule. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off for Husker Online Headlines.